sun shines on match day in the Maritimes, 24 Celsius, and this crowd ready to cheer on redemption for the Halifax Tides. It is their third ever meeting with the Calgary Wild. Welcome to NSL Soccer, presented by BMO, the official bank of the Northern Super League. I'm Daniela Ponticelli alongside Jessica Lisi, former Canadian Youth International, with you for this match. Jess, both teams coming off losses heading into the international window. For Halifax, they're looking to get on the front foot, though, against Calgary. The Tides have conceded 3 goals in the first half of both previous meetings, and they're looking for a big presence today in Megumi Nakamura.
This is a player that has the ability to help them on both sides of the ball. She's experienced, she's creative, she's crafty. We've seen her hit the back of the net, but more than anything, she is that link in the middle of the park for them. So I definitely think she needs to step up today and have a big matchup to help them get this win.
And for Calgary, they're looking to bounce back. They'd like to do it in the same style they've done it before against Halifax, but they're dealing with some injuries. And someone who could help them find the back of the net, they've been struggling there, is Sarita Thurton.
We've seen what Thurton is capable of. We saw it throughout the beginning of this season, her ability to go 1v1 and drive end line and get great crosses in the box to help her team find the back of the net. We haven't seen much of her, I would say, in the last few games. They haven't utilized her as well as they could. So she definitely is going to be a key component to them finding success in the final third.
Well, it was a 9-day international window. The fans, well, they've been waiting to get back to NSL action. These are the standings for Week 13. Halifax and Calgary right now at the bottom of the table. The Tides, they could look to make up some ground with a 3-point victory today, while Calgary, they're poised to leapfrog Vancouver if they can secure a win.
I still say this every single week. I think that this is anyone's game in the sense of we've seen these standings change time and time again. Who's at the top of the table, who's at the bottom of the table. So I think that just because Halifax is sitting at the bottom, just because Calgary's there in 5th place, that doesn't mean they don't have the ability to move up.
Well, Halifax has played the fewest matches in the NSL so far, and they have a new leader at the helm. When we return, we'll hear from the Tides' new interim head coach, Stephen Hart, ahead of his first match. Welcome back to the Wanderers' grounds. The hometown Tides hosting the Calgary Wild tonight. Changes, though, to the starting 11 for Halifax. How about goalkeeper Annika Toth getting the start? It's her first against Calgary as Erin McLeod picked up a knock. Jess, their last match, though, they struggled to stay compact in the middle of the park.
I think Karima Lemire can play a big role in that today. They did very much struggle. They were getting beat by one singular pass. All their lines were broken down. So I think Karima Lemire will be key in doing that. I also think Sid Kennedy, she is somebody that has been consistent for them and has been so great up and down that left flank. So having a big performance from her will definitely help them out as well.
And how about this change during the international window? Halifax transitioning head coach Lewis Page to a role establishing the Tides Development Academy. That brings in interim head coach Stephen Hart, who joined us earlier when I asked him about his message to the team.
I just want them to, it'll sound cliche-ish, but to accept the competition, to embrace the competition, and to enjoy themselves. The games I've seen, they look like they were going to work in a coal mine. and at the end of the day, we're just playing a football match. So I want them to go out and try as best to express themselves and enjoy the moment.
And they'll have the fans behind them, as you once were, cheering on the Tides at the Wanderers ground before today. So what does it mean to have this opportunity, this responsibility with a new club in a new league?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very different for me. But I'm always, learning has no roof, and I'm always willing to learn and take on new challenges, and hopefully I could contribute to the professional game once again in this part of the country.
Well, all the best today. Thank you so much for your time. Now for a look at the Wild side. Calgary's starting 11, and Jess, once again, not having everyone available between injury and international duties.
And I think with that, we're seeing Savitsky not in the lineup, which means Megan Doherty-Howard is going to be dropping into that sixth role. I think the last time these two teams met, she was a bit of a cheat code, as Coach Bedford referred to her. She was able to play in that sixth role, create a lot of 3v2s for this Calgary side, which very much helped them in getting that win. I also think Michaela Moore will have to play a big role today in keeping them compact in the back line and being able to recognize when to step and when not to step, and just keeping everyone on the same page as a leader.
Well, the last time Moore was in Halifax, she made history, scoring Calgary's first ever goal. That was back in April, but in the present, the Wild need a bounce back, and we spoke with Moore before tonight's match. Michaela, a tough few matches before the international window, 7 goals conceded in the last 3 games, but you've had this 9-day break. How important has it been for yourself and for the team?
Yeah, massive. Obviously, that's not how we want our games to be going currently, but I'm a big believer that you learn through what you go through. So we've definitely taken a lot of learnings from those matches and hope to apply them to the second half of the season.
Well, good news for Wild fans. Your team has won both prior matches with Halifax. You've done it in the first half with 3-0 leads established early, but you talked about learning lessons. What have you taken from those wins that you hope to bring forward today?
I think just our aim is to be the best in both boxes, and we haven't really been getting that currently. So just taking our chances when we get them, but also minimizing them at the other end.
Thank you so much for your time, Michaela. Appreciate it. The fans are ready in Halifax. Beautiful sunny day. First July match of the Northern Super League. Very different look to the last time these two teams met on this very pitch. Both teams looking to get strong starts. It's been the struggle for the Tide so far. Daniela Ponticelli alongside Jessica Lisi with you. We see a throw in here by Grace Storty. Has Thurton pushed to the outside. Coming up on Sid Kennedy now. Nakamura looking for a way out. Moore calling for it. In the midfield, some strong effort here by the Tides early. Miller kept off it by Sonia O'Neill.
I think one thing, Daniela, that we know we can expect from this Halifax side is they are a very resilient team. They're very hardworking, and we saw that the last time these two teams actually met. Calgary was able to get the lead in that first half, and you were seeing Halifax come into that second half needing to find a solution. They needed to find resolution to the issues they were having in the first half, and they absolutely did. They had a bit of a formation change. They came out with a good head on their shoulders, and my God, did they fight back. So that is what I'm hoping to see from them today, that resilience from minute 1. We are seeing them in a bit of a high press at moments, but they're picking their moments sitting in that block. And I think that Calgary is a team that needs to showcase their abilities in combining and getting those crosses in the box, because that is really where they shine.
Well, we can hear Stephen Hart already, the interim head coach for the Tides, and a difficult position to be in, because even he says you can't expect big changes, and if there are big changes that we see in this match, that's all player driven. It's tough when you're a coach coming in. He got the call during the international window, just 2.5 sessions. One of those just more observation. But you talked about the Tides having to play and change what they did in the second half. It caught the Calgary Wild manager off guard a little bit too. Lydia Bedford talking about that and definitely not wanting a repeat there.
And they were clinical, and that was the difference. I think that one thing Halifax has struggled with is being able to find the back of the net regardless of having good build-up moments. So finding that clinical edge that is needed in the final third, in and around that box, is going to be crucial for them to be able to fight against Calgary.
Spurred on by the crowd. Just as quickly, the Wild pounce. Tegan Stewart with the pass, but Nakamura gets a touch. Settled back by Moore. Of course, a veteran presence. Lots of stability coming from Michaela Moore as well for this Wild side. Christy Gray getting physical and out of play.
With your line set!
We're also seeing Rolfsma back in the mix, as she was someone that we hadn't seen. Green, obviously, coming off of that injury with that hard hit with her and Burns against Ottawa. She is doing well, has definitely taken some steps forward, as Coach Bedford had mentioned to us, which is great to hear. But definitely some changes in this lineup for Calgary. And, you know, you're seeing Sonia back there. The last time these two teams met, she was playing in that role as well, and she did do well.
Lydia Bedford telling us that Allie Green, they had hoped to get her doing some contact, unable to get there ahead of this match. And just given where we are in the season as well, Jess, important to keep perspective. You have 25 matches in the regular season, number 10 today for Calgary, number 9 for Halifax. Another throw in here.
Another thing, Daniela, is as the season progresses, your depth is going to be tested. And then that was something that Coach Bedford was sort of thrown into. She had to look down her bench and figure out who she can put in there. And we saw Christy Gray have to turn into a fullback in a couple matches ago, And I just think that there's players that are being called on to play different roles. And that's a part of it. That's part of being a pro and having to step into that and, you know, make the most of the opportunity. But I definitely think that their depth is being questioned right now, and they do need to find some players that are going to be able to step into those roles and do it well.
Saw a great 1v1 as Moore settles things down for Calgary. And of note is the first time these two teams met, it was Halifax's inaugural game. So a team that hadn't really been in that setting and everything was very new. Sid Kennedy, though, coming in. Bukovic sends it back. Stephanie Bukovic with the start. She had both against Halifax previously, so her third start for the Wild against the Tides.
We're currently seeing Halifax be turned on defensively. You saw they're able to win it back. Miller looks up and is able to send that diagonal ball into Kennedy, who obviously was outnumbered, and there wasn't much she could do with that. But nonetheless, it was a great look, and those are the opportunities they have to keep trying when they are on, especially when you have Sid Kennedy running at a back line. That is what you want.
Norcus battling for it. Out to Miller. Miller dancing along the edge of the box. Finds the inside. Bukovic, my goodness. Nearly trickled in past the goal line. Bukovic, though, calm and composed as always.
Yeah, here's another look at it. Some good individual effort from Miller, who gets this cross in. She definitely mishit that, so if that had gone in the back of the net, I think she would have been just as surprised as us, Daniela. But that is the individual effort that Sarah Miller brings to the pitch, and her abilities to go 1v1. She's not easy to stick with.
The first signing of hometown talent to the Halifax Tides. So we see Toth with the start. Annika Toth, the goalkeeper for the Tides. She's played 225 minutes coming into this game. 23 years old, out of Oakville, Ontario, but plays for Slovakia. Gonna look at the last 5 games. Calgary on a 2-game skid. Of course, also a team that has strung together 4 straight wins. In fact, that streak was capped by their last meeting with Halifax, a 3-2 win. At McMahon Stadium, Sid Kennedy creating space. Sonia O'Neill
It's a great defensive effort by Sonia to be able to come across and shut Kennedy down. Kennedy, we spoke about her a bit before the game, but her ability to drive end line and get good service in has been a bright spot for this Halifax team. I think if I had to pick one player on Halifax that has constantly shined, it is Sid Kennedy. So it was a great defensive effort by Calgary and by Sonia to be able to get across there and shut it down before anything dangerous comes of it.
Leslie looking for a way in, has it. Pass to Nakamura. Now Millie Clegg. Vukovic handles business. Millie Clegg, of course, looking for her first NSL goal. Important signing for the Tides early on. Just 19 years old, out of Auckland, New Zealand. What a phenomenal up-and-comer, one to watch.
And we're seeing a bit of a partnership form between her and Nakamura. They are able to find if they're able to find their footing, they're going to be a very dangerous duo to have to deal with. Right now, the movements are great, but it's just a matter of being able to combine and get that final pass off. So I do think that that's an exciting partnership in the process right now.
Kylie Norkus once more. Nakamura getting dangerously close, finding space in the middle. Tides handling the control here for the last few minutes, and possession will be key. It's been an interesting journey for these two teams. In their first meeting, it was quite lopsided when it came to possession, and that reflected in the score, a 4-1 win for the Wild. But then it was a 50-50 possession time in their last meeting. Calgary, or rather Halifax, just unable to complete a second half comeback. It was a back-breaking stoppage time goal at the end of the first half from Tegan Stewart, who we just saw. It was her graduation day as well, Jess, who can forget that?
It definitely was a big moment for her and for her team. But, to your point, this is just a team that has showed such resilience, but it was absolutely a tale of two halves. I would say that last meeting, the first half was all Calgary. There was no doubt that they were going to walk away with the win, but as that second half came to be, there were some question marks. Were they going to be able to secure this win? And we saw Halifax come back and score 2 goals, and 2 very clinical goals at that, and they were wanting more to that final minute. They were having chance after chance, but Calgary was able to hold on.
Calgary facing that pressure, more goes down as we approach the first 10 minutes of this match. O'Neill out to Rolfsma. It's kept in by Calgary. Calgary in their kit with their primary purple. Color of ambition, they say, and the red in their kit. Of course, indicative of the city of Calgary. You can hear Stephen Hart communicating, and he was the one who told us, the new interim head coach for the Tides, prior to this match, that communicating at the Wanderers grounds can be very difficult, especially amongst players. So right now, his voice loud across the pitch.
Well, you're hearing his messaging, and it's stay together, and that was something that they did not do in their last matchup against Toronto. I think it was a very poor performance. I would potentially say their worst of the season, in the sense of there was no cohesion on either side of the ball. The final pass wasn't coming off. The movement off the ball wasn't great. But defensively, they were getting beat by a single pass from Toronto's back line all the way through. And that cannot happen. That shows that their structure was being broken down. Their recognition of when to step or when to stay in shape. They have to all be on the same page. You can't be stepping at different times. And more than anything, you have to be able to stay compact so you're not so easily broken down.
You can hear it again. Organize, organize. That is the message. And it's a simple one. Can be absolutely effective right now. Toth coming out. Some help there by Olai. Through center. See Sarah Olai from Sweden. 25-year-old defender, and Marika Gay as well, who has found a way to get past Calgary's goalkeeper before here at the Wanderers grounds. As the Tides come in. Sid Kennedy with speed. Kennedy just wide to the far post. Sid Kennedy, you can feel it from the captain here, just wants to do it all.
And we've seen her hit these. We've seen her get good balls into the box, but also hit the back of the net with them. You want Sid Kennedy to try it when she has that opportunity. But the beginning of that was such a great play. You saw both Clegg as well as Kennedy making that run. They both very much wanted it. And it was a great ball through by Miller to recognize that there was space in behind. And she fancied a foot race there. She knew that she was going to be able to come out with it. And she tried Kennedy to be able to get something off of that.
Of course, Halifax proud, Sid Kennedy. One of several hometown talents for the Tides. As they go out past the goal line, Bedford having a word with her team. Comes Halifax looking to play it to the midfield. Thurton on top of it. O'Neill runs back, and certainly a different kind of pacing, Jess, than we've seen between these two before. And we're going to talk about it because this, for both sides, is the first time they've met another opponent for a third match.
Yeah, and I think, as the season progresses and the more times you meet a team, you become more familiar with what it is that you're up against. That doesn't necessarily mean you can always prepare. There's a lot of individual talents that are going to make things happen. But tactically, there's definitely some adjustments that are able to be made. Again, we saw that Halifax has switched between a 4-3-3 and a 4-4-2. And, Coach Bedford's aware of that. She said that was something that caused them some issues in the last game.
Here comes Sarita Thurton. Watch out. As she goes in, it's just wide of the post, but just like that, Thurton dangerous in close space.
She's a player that is a threat, and we've said that. She does need to do better here. She is right in front of the net. She does some good footwork, some craftiness, uses her body well, but it looks like there might have just been too much commotion going on in front of her and threw off her momentum a little bit. She's not able to get her foot quite around the ball as well as she would have liked.
Annika Toth with a start for Halifax, and Erin McLeod is on the bench. We've been told that she's just navigating an injury, and one that likely was incurred in their last match. An opportunity here as McLeod held the duties between the posts in their previous meetings with the Wild. Stewart out of the far side has Rolfsma trying to work it up the left flank. From the outside in, it's up. Tide defense holds steady. Sid Kennedy, the lofty pass. Storty to match it. Swift work by the Wild to try to stay in the attacking third, but now back on their own side.
Within this first 15, we've seen Halifax attempt to play quite a few through balls, and they do work for them in the fact that they have a lot of pace, but there also has to be recognition when there isn't numbers forward, and you're not going to be able to win that. You saw Nakamura make that run, which is great. She's creating space in the middle of the park, but that ball is not always on when you are outnumbered and you're not able to create much with it.
Saw Maggie Doherty Howard, captain for the Wild. She watches on Rolfsma, keeping Nakamura at bay. Doherty Howard puts it up. Cross for Thurton. She splits the defense. Thurton now on the move. Tackled. Quick play by Marika Gay. And there's the whistle.
Thurton once again attempting to come alive in that final third, and we're seeing her cut in. We're normally used to seeing her go down that flank and get crosses in, but this is twice now we've seen her cut inside, and she's a player that can do both. She's able to defeat two players here in both Norcus and Kennedy and continue to drive forward until Gay is able to come in and break that up.
One goal on the season so far for Thurton, 23 years old. Hails from Ajax, Ontario. Calgary on the move now. Trying to get up ahead for Danielle Steer, another player, Jess, you've really noticed and feel that could be a difference as well.
I think that Steer, we haven't really seen the best of her yet, in the sense of, even there you're looking, she's running away from the ball. It's in that moment when you have 3-4 defenders around you have to come to the ball, and also your player has to recognize that in the delivery that they're giving you. So in there, I would have loved to see her come off the front, receive that ball, or potentially create more space for herself. But making a straight run on a straight ball is never going to work. That's one of the rule of thumbs as a striker. It's just never going to happen. So I think that Steer is somebody that has so much capability in helping this Calgary team, more of that traditional 9 and in being a hold-up player, but also has the pace to get in behind at times. So yeah, I would love to see a little bit more from her to really utilize her to her fullest potential.
Bukovic takes the ball. And with Steer as well, she was on the bench in Halifax the first time at Wanderers grounds, has the start now, and also started in their last match, but that was back in Calgary. So far, this matchup is the only one that Calgary has been able to win on the road. So they can do it again, pick up 3 points. That's what you get for a victory. It's 1 each in a draw. None for the losing side. Storty.
No foul! No foul!
Sid Kennedy staying with her. Takes it back for the Tides. It's a smooth tackle there for Storty.
This is a fun battle. I'm excited to see this. I think every time these two teams meet between Storty and Kennedy, you're going to get a feisty battle. They're both players that love to get out on top of that 1v1 battle. They don't back up. You see it here. Storty does well to shield this ball. Sid Kennedy doing a good job not to foul and push from behind there. She's able to win that back, but once again, Storty steps in.
Calgary native Storty, she's just so dynamic, blending that defensive reliability and her ability to attack as well, but right now defending. And coming up is O'Neill. Goes out at the goal line.
You're seeing there, the fact that she wasn't able to create anything off of that is great for Halifax, but there's just too much time and space. There's no reason that Sonia should have that much time and space to run directly through the midfield and send a long ball in. There has to be somebody that commits to that. They have to start a little bit higher to be able to step and cause at least some pressure so she's not able to hit that long ball.
Oh, we're 20 minutes down in the first half, still 0-0. Few shots on either side. You're watching NSL Soccer presented by BMO, the official bank of the Northern Super League, and Sid Kennedy will bring it in as she goes for a slide. Stewart holding on to her knee. Tegan Stewart, of course, her twin sister Keelan, also on the Calgary Wild. Here's another look.
You saw Moore get a little riled up there, claiming it was a bit late. You do see her come through the bottom of Stewart there. Stewart landing a little hard, but thankfully she's up and ready.
Well, Kennedy is such a physical player. Gives her all, and hope she's having fun out there. That's what their interim head coach had wanted, but I think that intensity, that's what drives her.
She definitely wears her heart on her sleeve, which you love to see, especially when you see her now with the captain's armband today. She is a player that is trying to set an example, and there are leaders who lead by doing, and she's definitely one of those.
Storty takes it in, looking for an inside pass. Calgary threatening here, now Thurton, but back still. O'Neill to Rolfsma. Looking to stay in control now, Bukovic.
we're seeing an aspect of patience from this Calgary team. They're recognizing that they don't just want to force it into the first available option, but instead make sure that it is an option worth exploring. So I think that's great from them, seeing them not force it. They have to continue to move the ball at pace alongside the back. I think that that was something that in the last few games they've struggled with a little bit. There's too much stationary things going on. So I would love to see them continue this patience, pick their moments, go forward, and be able to execute with their passes.
And we know that they can deliver. They can be incredibly opportunistic when given those chances. Pass up for Kennedy. She comes in. Moore with a solid block.
That is where they're dangerous. It's when Sid Kennedy is on her horse and she's driving end line. We've seen her with the cutbacks. That is where they've hurt teams in the past.
Another look at Stephen Hart, someone, by the way, who comes in as this interim head coach, knowing that the rest of his staff, well, they have no reason yet to trust him, Jess, and part of this is going to be building that rapport amongst the staff. We have a corner here from Kennedy. Big opportunity here for Halifax. Calgary has defended so well against set pieces as of late. Kennedy off the left foot. It's up. Calgary out of the box. I'll put back in. Rolfsma gets it up ahead. Big opportunity for Tegan Stewart, and she's taken off the ball. Crowd loves it. What a play.
That's great defending by Norcus, and that shows her experience and recognizing that she can use her body in that and body Tegan Stewart, a young player, off the ball. But Tegan Stewart does well to recognize that transitional moment and make the run. She almost got by there and got through. But again, it was a great defensive effort by Norcus to be able to save that.
Could have been a perfect breakaway.
Kylie, tell them the ball speed is too slow.
You're seeing it here. Rolfsma, she recognizes that Stewart has that time and space, and it's that touch just gets a little bit away from her, and Norcus is able to get her body in there. And Norcus is a physical player, and she has the experience, so it's, you know, there was no doubt in my mind that she was going to be able to intercept that. But nonetheless, it was a great run by Stewart.
Well, Stewart with 1 goal already and a goal assist on the season. Coming into this match with just over 300 minutes played. So really making the most of the minutes she's given. Quick throw in. Looking for Steer. Out once more along the touchline. Storty to Steer. Here's Norcus once more. Some defense for the Tides. Kept out of the penalty area. Tegan Stewart with a strike, and it's wide.
She might be young, but she is definitely mighty. She's a player that does not give up. You can tell just how bad she wants to be there, and you can see the talent in her. We've seen her on quite a few transitional plays, I would say, throughout this season, but also her ability to combine and recognizing the spaces and the channels to occupy. She's a very bright talent, and I'm excited to see what she turns into.
Well, she was part of Canada's U15 team, looking back at CONCACAF 2022 in a tournament there, winning silver, that along with her twin sister Keelan. As we get right back to it, she's also had plenty of international experience for just a 17-year-old. Most recently training in Wales, along with her sister. Thurton with a quick touch. The Tides looking to organize. Marika Gay. Miller looking to threaten as O'Neill drives her to the sideline.
We mentioned wanting to see the front-footedness from Halifax, and we're seeing it. We're seeing them attempt to stay compact, and in moments, yes, they're still being broken down, and it's not quite compact enough, but there's other moments where they're doing very well to catch Calgary in transition and apply that pressure and be able to do some combination play or have some great individual efforts to create something. but I would say neither side has created anything too dangerous as of yet.
Not quite. Shots have been there, not necessarily on target. Annika Leslie. The back pass, now Olai. Nakamura can't quite get a touch on it, does that time. Has Sid Kennedy, takes a moment to control it towards Bukovic, will go out of play, and it's a throw in here for the Tide. She's making quick work of that. Norkus. Looking for a way in through the middle. Can't close in. Strong defense by Calgary. Nakamura with a pass to Miller. Miller evading the threat.
It's a great turn by Miller.
Kylie Norkus. That'll go off Thurton. Tides hungry for their first lead over Calgary. If they can open scoring here, possession has gone the Tide's way, or check that rather, Calgary. Not too surprising. We've seen some really great patience, as you said, Jess, from the Wild.
Yeah, absolutely, and the possession, definitely, that's a big part of it, being able to just play in and around the back. It's not necessarily purposeful possession. Sometimes the stats don't really show you what's happening in the game. I would say overall it's been quite even in the run of play. I don't think either side has completely dominated. We're seeing Halifax have their moments, and we're seeing Calgary come up on the other side of the pitch as well.
Pass from distance finds Kennedy. She's patient, plays around. There's the shot. It's wide once more. It's been tough for Sid Kennedy. She's had the opportunity.
She continues to show what she's capable of. She's so crafty. She's so creative. You see her here. She shimmies. She goes back. Storty loses her footing. But I would say, you know, that between this battle right now, I know Grace Storty wants a few of these back. Kennedy is definitely winning the battle between the two of them currently. So you definitely know that Grace Storty is going to step it up and want that one back.
Steer finding some teammates midfield. As the Wild look to get moving on the attack, they haven't had shots that they'd like to see. We heard from Moore before the match about wanting to be the best in both boxes. Also spending some time in that area. "30 minutes into this match with some of the best weather Halifax fans have enjoyed at the Wanderers grounds. Of course, first match in July for the NSL. Summer weather on the way, and a hydration break will also be on the way as determined pre-match. Nakamura. Her pass taken away by Moore. Doherty Howard. Doherty Howard playing in a slightly different position, Jess, as you mentioned, due to the absence of Jackie Savitsky, although not without great cause. Savitsky playing so well with the Philippine national team. 2 wins, scored a goal as well during the international window, and in fact she was headed home today, so they said, make that a trip to Calgary. We'll meet you there. Calgary is hosting Vancouver this Saturday. Likely we could see Savitsky back in the lineup then.
Wait, Marika, wait. Look to me.
Moore to Storty. A throw in here for Fremont, and I do believe this will be the hydration break. Hydration breaks in the NSL are brought to you by Powerade. And we'll likely have to get used to this, Jess, a little bit more in the summer as The weather has changed. What a difference the last time they were here. Players wearing long sleeves, wearing gloves. It was such a different feel from 7 Celsius to now 28 on the East Coast.
It's definitely some beautiful weather, and I'm sure the players are loving the hydration break. I know
hydration break for all. There you go.
Absolutely. Look at that.
There's some great shirts. Love the merch. Beautiful Halifax Tides colors. Everybody's hydrating. And worth noting as well that Halifax will be right back at the Wanderers grounds this Saturday as well, hosting Montreal. So a short week for this team, but the advantage of getting to stay at home.
There's always a home advantage. I think, you get up to play anywhere. Of course, you're a professional and you're going to bring that same effort, but it definitely helps to have a home crowd behind you. And we know that the Halifax team has some great fans, so it definitely helps to have that support and behind you and them cheering you on, especially when things haven't been going your way.
What do you make of the first 30 minutes so far, Jess? And we didn't get a chance to touch on your expectations really heading into it, but is this matching that?
I expected these teams to both come out wearing their heart on their sleeves. The last time they met, we saw Calgary come out and dominate that first half, and then the resilient side of Halifax very much came out in the second half. I would say right now, I expect more from both of them. I think that the final pass, the final execution on goal hasn't been there for either side. There's been moments of buildup that are great, but there's also been little things letting them down.
Okay, I have to make note of this. It is
Loving that.
Jocelyn's birthday party. That's what's being celebrated as the theme of tonight's match. Jocelyn, of course, the fabulous mascot for the Halifax Tides. Happy birthday. I'm sure I know what she would want as a gift. A hometown victory, a hometown goal potentially to break this 0-0 stalemate early on. We've been spoiled with goals between these two teams as it is. Kylie Norkus to set up her teammates. Rolfsma looks to get it back into the middle third. Eva Fermot coming in with speed.
You were seeing just a second ago, too, Daniela, Halifax having 4 shots and Calgary having 2. But I would say that there's definitely opportunity to have more, and that comes down to them finding the clinical edge in the final third and being able to create more dangerous chances because they're able to connect and find that cohesion in the final pass.
And many of the shots being quite wide. Storty looking for Stewart. Still kept beyond the edge of the box. Nakamura will send it down for Marika Gay and Annika Toth. Annika Toth, who spent 5 years at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Team captain there in 2024. Important for the Tides as well to play strong in front of her. As mentioned, coming in with just over 200 minutes played prior to this game. Sophie Guillemette on the bench as well. Has yet to play here between the posts. And that's up and into really fun-looking fan area.
You're seeing the pace that Halifax has in the flanks, whether it's Kennedy or Miller. They love to spin you and go 1v1. They try it every single time, and they both have the quality to make things come of it. You see here, Miller takes Rolfsma on, uses her pace, uses some physicality, and is able to get a corner kick off of it because Sonia has no choice but to come across and kick that out.
A big corner here for Halifax. Tries to find a way in on the ground. Big pass up, a header. It's a goal! Halifax does it! Their first ever lead against the Calgary Wild. Great celebration along the sidelines. And Megumi Nakamura all smiles.
we spoke about Nakamura and what she could do for this team. We're going to look at it here. It was a nice short corner. Kennedy puts this ball back into the mix. They win that second ball, and Gay gets it back in. Nakamura makes no mistake but to get up there and redirect that. Another look at it, perfectly lofted in. It isn't able to get to anyone, but Marika Gay does such a great job at staying aware, and Nakamura again putting that into the back of the net. She's somebody that has shown her quality in this league time and time again, and then there's just another example of it, putting her team on the board.
Third goal of the season for Megumi Nakamura. Her second against Calgary. It was her who got the Tides on the board, but that was in the second half when they were already down 3-0. This time setting the tone. The crowd loves to see it, a very important lead. We're wondering, Jess, who would win that battle to get on the front foot here. And despite what the possession numbers say, Halifax having some more shots, and that one a beauty for the Tides. But expect a quick response here from the Wild, in a position they have not been in before against the Tides.
This is absolutely going to be a test of mindset now. Is Halifax going to be able to continue and hold this momentum and make something else happen, get another goal, get a second goal, maybe a third goal? Or is Calgary going to come out and completely shift that momentum and really bring it?
Well, Storty will look to correct the record, even out the score here. Working up with Thurton along the right flank. Storty drawing pressure. And a good clear, gets it back out to midfield. Millie Clegg with a touch. For the Tides, handles it. You have to think new interim head coach Stephen Hart must be so proud of this team, a team he's just getting to know. He's not taking any credit, really, after only being with them for 2.5 sessions during that international window. But he saw the potential, Jess. He was a fan in the stands at the Wanderers grounds prior to accepting this incredible role. Of course, has a rich history with the Tides, having played or with Halifax, I should say, having played with the Wanderers himself.
And I think, we've seen this side of Halifax throughout the season so far. Again, they've had performances where they haven't shown up and it's been poor, but there's also been moments in the game where you see how great they truly can be. And I think that there's also an aspect of it, you do have a new manager and you want to prove that you can solidify your spot in the starting 11. He's coming into this, regardless of seeing how that first half of the season has gone, he's coming into it with new judgment. He has to pick who his best 11 are going to be as the season progresses. So this is a moment for them to showcase what they're all about as players, and we're seeing them step up today.
So just a 1-goal lead, but a big one for Halifax, as they have not been in this position against Calgary before. More in a foot race, and she goes down. Bukovic. Another look there at Millie Clegg, the young New Zealander on this Halifax squad. Into the 40th minute. And Storty gets it past Miller. But back this time to Moore. The Wild look to get organized. Jess mentioned the patience of this side as well.
Come over! Come over!
Bukovic to Moore. Pass from distance, and it'll be a throw in here for Eva Fremo.
We're seeing Moore look for that long ball to Storty. We've seen Storty get involved in the attack time and time again. Her and Thurton, some combination play there. But anytime Storty provides an overload on the flank, trouble is coming. So if Michaela Moore is able to hit that and be able to execute it, there is a potential opportunity in that.
Toth. All set here. And you have to think what an important match this is for Toth. Getting more minutes in the Northern Super League.
I've played alongside Toth, and she's a player that, or a goalkeeper, excuse me, still a player. So we'll go with that terminology, but she's a goalkeeper that is very quiet, but she is lethal, and she has grown so much. She is able to use her voice now. You see her lead and command that back line, but she's also so capable and athletic, and I don't think necessarily that last game against Toronto when she subbed in, it was her best showing, but she's such a capable goalkeeper. She has a lot of talent, and she is young, so she has so much room to grow, and it is exciting as a former teammate seeing her get these minutes and stepping up.
We'll just consider that Nakamura's goal to open things here in this match. Storty, though, always trying to find a way in, and Clegg doing the work with a pass through the middle. Going for a beautiful setup there to Sid Kennedy. Kennedy so fast and creating some space for herself, and that opportunity always looming with Sid Kennedy. Of course, it was a great set piece that managed to break through for that first goal for Halifax. Something as well, Calgary has been so solid at defending. We were speaking with Lydia Bedford prior to this, and she said, well, the last time we conceded a corner, that was actually in Halifax. So another corner opportunity here to deliver. Quick clear, but Norcus keeping it in close. Just some great battles we're seeing as well. Now Moore getting in. A whistle. The referee for this match, Sheila Couture. Assistants today, Camille Raymond and Natalie Berry. And your fourth official is Allie Martin. Moore now with a through pass, and Stewart, Marika Gay, so sneaky there, just takes the ball away. I mean, what a tale of two very different teams when you think of the Tides prior to the international window, what was a 3-1 loss to Toronto, but that one goal scored by Toronto's Rollins, it was an own goal. So the last time the Tides actually scored one off their own player, it was back here at the Wanderers grounds in their lone win on the season so far. It was Jonsdotter's game winner. Of course, they're still without Gunny Jonsdotter. We'll have a minimum of 2 minutes added to stoppage time. Of course, we've seen Calgary strike during this time. That was the back-breaking third goal of the first half in their last meeting.
I think so far we've been still seeing, regardless of the goal, it's still pretty even overall, but I think that Halifax has been a little bit more purposeful in that final third and creating more dangerous opportunities. It seems that Calgary has that first pass, they attempt to make one that will create a dangerous chance or lead to a dangerous chance, but they're not able to find their footing quite yet in that execution.
Yeah, it was a fast first half when you consider not much added time here. Doherty Howard with a pass to O'Neill. They'll look here for some control. Great header for the Tides.
The Tides are doing a much better job at keeping compact and staying compact and moving as a unit, and you can hear Hart yelling that out to them, move together, and that was something that they lacked. I know I mentioned that earlier, but that was something that they had lacked specifically in that last game, but I would say overall throughout the season, they haven't done it on a consistent basis, and having that cohesion defensively and moving as a unit, they've been broken down a little too easily. So I would say in this first half overall, despite there being a few moments that they were too easily broken down, there has been that aspect of cohesion and unity.
Sometimes you just need a coach to yell it at you throughout the entire first half of the match. Just a great reminder to keep it simple. And Stordy now on the move. Will they have enough time to make something happen here? The Wild looking for the equalizer. And a foot race and sliding tackle there by Miller. And that'll do for the first half. And what a half for the Halifax Tides. An incredible goal by Megumi Nakamura, her third of the season, but first of this game to give them their first ever lead.
I think this was a first half that showcased a bit of what these teams are capable of, but I think there's so much more that both these teams have in regards to quality. I'd love to see Calgary come out more on the front foot and be able to execute that final pass, use Thurton more, get Stordy forward, get Doherty Howard on the ball more. But I think from Halifax's point of view, we are seeing more compactness from them, and they have that front-footed mentality. They want to win this game today, so it's great to see Nakamura get on the board for them.
A very happy birthday so far for Jocelyn, but still ahead, the NSL halftime show. Jessica Lisi breaks down the first half, and later we'll look at the NSL talent shining on the international stage. It's 1-0 for the Tides through the first half. Subscribe to the NSL newsletter, The North Star, for access to exclusive stories, NSL Finals presale, and much more. Scan the QR code or visit nsl.ca to join now. Well, welcome to the NSL Halftime Show presented by BMO, the official bank of the Northern Super League. It's been a very happy birthday so far for Jocelyn. as the Tides celebrate their mascot's birthday. Of course, I mean, who knew? It's July 7th. So far, so good for the home side as they were able to get 2 shots on target. Of course, a goal already as well from Megumi Nakamura. But Jessica Lisi, you're also just seeing a very together Tides team and a different look so far.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing a Halifax Tides team that really wants this win, and I think that that was something that has lacked a little bit throughout the season. Although they do have a lot of heart and a lot of resilience, it hasn't been on a consistent basis. So it's great to see them come out here. You're seeing the possession. It's quite even, I would say. Again, Halifax obviously being able to get the upper hand and getting that goal, but I think that there's more left in the tank for Calgary, and they just need to pick it up heading into the second half.
And it was an exciting first half, one in which we were looking and keying in, would it be the same as what we've seen when these two teams have met in the past? Nakamura and Moore were our 2 players to watch, and they've already been difference makers.
Yeah, I think that, Moore has played a big role, and I think that Nakamura, we already know she's played a massive role, but you're seeing here just different chances that are being created. Miller and Kennedy, both players that have showcased their abilities throughout the season and their pace at going down the flank, going 1v1, getting shots off, getting crosses in. Sarita Thurton is another player we mentioned in the threat that she brings. She hasn't quite been able to find her footing and hitting the ball on frame, but she's been quite active there. I'd love to see her get on the ball even more so. Grace Doherty's another player that continues to step up. The battle between her and Kennedy is one that is very fun to watch. 2 very gritty players that know what they want. You saw there great defending and also, great offensive work. Kennedy has definitely been the most active, I would say. We're seeing clip after clip of her because of what she's contributed. She hasn't been able to find the clinical touch that is needed, I would say, in the final third. She's capable of so much more, and we've seen it from her. And then you're seeing this goal. And this is such an exciting moment for Nakamura, but also for this team. A little bit poor defending, I would say. I don't think that there was enough pressure on that. She was able to get up here, but you see Gay get this ball back into the mix, and Nakamura gets up there and redirects it towards goal. So just a really exciting half, I would say, for the Tides, because there has been so much growth from their last matchup, which is what you love to see.
As mentioned, Tides fans enjoying this ride this time, holding their first ever lead over Calgary. Lots of fun at the Wanderers grounds, but when we come back, of course, halftime in the Maritimes, 1-0 for Halifax. Don't go anywhere. We have all the best of Northern Super League stars during the international window. These are highlight reel moments you don't want to miss.
Post and in. It's the goal we've been waiting for.
That is a highlight we will see over and over and over again. That is absolutely world class. Oh my goodness.
NSL halftime presented by BMO, the official bank of the Northern Super League. Oh, all the mascots are getting in on the birthday party fun in Halifax. I love this. The fans also cheering on their now beloved mascot in Jocelyn. What a great name. Perfect fit. Right now, a perfect scene in Halifax for Tides fans, leading 1-0 at the half. Well, during the international window, which is what we're just coming off of, the Canadian women's national soccer team played a pair of friendlies. With more now on the growing connection between the national team and the Northern Super League, here's Ashley Docking.
The Canadian women's national team has entered a new era. Famous favorites that paved the way have made way for different stars to shine and new faces to emerge. And while there is no one way or right way to make it to the top, through all the call-ups and ultimate letdowns, AFC Toronto captain Emma Regan and her West Coast counterpart, Vancouver Rise it girl Holly Ward, have navigated this journey together, first as friends and now as national team members.
I think me and Holly have definitely grown a bond. We knew each other. She played on my younger sister's team actually in Vancouver, so I knew her even before we played together in Whitecaps, and then Texas we played together, so we've known each other for a really long time. We're good friends, and I don't think it's a mentorship. I think we're just friends. I think we help each other.
I've learned a lot from Emma. She has this really good, I don't know how to describe it, but she doesn't get stuck on the little things, and she helps me not get stuck on them either. She's like, we both deserve to be here, and she'll always tell me you deserve to be here, and any mistake I make, she is always just okay, what's next? She doesn't dwell on it.
I think not getting called in for a couple years was good for me. It was definitely about looking at what I can do day in, day out, and not looking at the outcome and worrying too much about the next camp and the next tournament and the call-up. It was just about what I could do and push myself every day. So I think that was a good growth moment for me, and I think it has helped me even now that I am in, just taking a bit of pressure off myself and just playing for me and what I can control.
The Northern Super League is primed to feed the depth of the senior women's national team. And it's not just a narrative that's easy to craft, it's the reality of the situation. Not only are Regan and Ward here, but it's also AFC Toronto's Kaylee Hunter, who was participating in training with the senior women's national team. U20 standout Noelle Henning was called in as an injury replacement for Lizzie Ann Prue. Head coach Casey Stoney said the NSL is explicitly tied to what the senior women's national team is looking to build.
I think it only benefits us. I think having players in the league competing for minutes, playing every week consistently and in a competitive league is going to benefit us. We're obviously calling players up, and I take Kaylee Hunter as an example. She wasn't in the squad, on the roster, but she trained with us all week. And just a player at 17 years old being in a pro environment, you can see what that's doing for her. And I think what it does, it gives platforms for young players that would otherwise possibly be sitting on other teams' benches, the opportunities to play, and that's going to be big for us.
I think the NSL definitely fast-tracked it, but I also think that's what the league's for. So it's a really good representation of this is exactly what the league is trying to do, and what it brings to young players in Canada for sure.
Well, it's not only the Canadians, of course. These are the players involved in summer international matches coming from the Northern Super League. And Jess, this is what it's all about, in a league showcasing this kind of talent. You just love to see all this representation.
Yeah, it's exciting to see how many nations are represented in this NSL. I think that the fact that you have an Emma Regan and you have an Esther Okoronkwo and a Sierra Cotillard who are from Toronto, they're being able to represent their countries. You have Jacqueline Savitsky, you have Holly Ward, you have Chu, you have Mitchell. There's so many great players on this list, and there's definitely more players that we're going to see get call-ups as this NSL continues.
Well, you mentioned Savitsky. Let's talk about her, of course, with Calgary. Here she is making a difference. Number 6 on the screen for the Philippines.
She's been a player that has stood out, I would say, for this Calgary team, and she showcased her ability on both sides of the ball. You're seeing here the quality that she has and being able to redirect that towards goal. She makes no mistake to put it away.
And now for Poland, Kayla Adamik. She's been a force for Ottawa. Does it there.
We've seen her play as a fullback. We've seen her play as a winger, and she does both of them tremendously. So seeing her get a goal here is not shocking at all. A player with immense quality.
And now a nice assist. We talked about all the Toronto players. How about Esther Okoronkwo for Nigeria.
We're used to seeing Okoronkwo's name on the score sheet, but she is definitely a player that can contribute to making things happen in the attack. So seeing her get up there and challenge that to get the assist and put her team on the board is not shocking at all.
And I know someone who was on the call for this, Jess Lisi, and the Canadians, of course, making a difference.
Holly Ward is a player that has done so well when she has stepped up on the pitch for the national team of Canada. I think that she's a player that has a very bright future ahead of her, but you see her here. She makes no mistake to put that in the back of the net. Top corner, strikes that like a total pro.
And Emma Regan, of course, also finding the back of the net. What a moment for her.
Emma Regan is the captain of Toronto, and she leads by example. She's done this in the NSL, and she just shows so much quality. Bar down here, great finish from her, and it was her first ever goal with the national team, which is so exciting for her as well as this league.
And she'll be back in action in the NSL this Thursday when the league-leading AFC Toronto host Ottawa Rapid FC at York Lions Stadium. Tune in 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, and then get set for doubleheader Saturday. I know what I'm doing. Montreal at Halifax, and Calgary Wild against Vancouver. And those are two big matchups, of course, considering that Halifax and Calgary are playing tonight on the East Coast. Calgary now looking to adjust. A team that hasn't had to do that against the Tides previously. I know it was a short sample size, Jess, but you have to consider when you have matching 3-0 first half leads in back-to-back meetings with a team like the Tides, it's really impressive. Of course, we're also seeing some substitutions as in comes Callie Johnson. Callie Johnson knew she could see some minutes here. She's still not quite ready for starting. She's recovering as well and just making sure she's physically set. But Johnson, of course, the leading scorer for the Wild so far with 3 goals. She comes in as Christy Gray heads off, and this will start the second half.
If you need someone to ignite your attack, it's definitely Callie Johnson. She's a player that has showed what she's capable of in finding the back of the net, but also just her contribution and what she does off the ball and her physicality and really setting the tone. She's a very great player, and I think that, you know, we saw her get that call-up for the Matildas, her first ever call-up. She was able to score a goal in that first call-up, and that says a lot about the quality of a player that she is and the confidence that she has at such a young age.
And there might be some magic on this pitch as well for Johnson, of course, scoring her first 2 NSL goals here at the Wanderers grounds back in April. But more than that, just having her on the field, being a possible threat. Getting a touch right away, number 15 for the Wild.
This is also going to be another physical battle that is going to be exciting to watch. Johnson is a player that loves to put her body on the line and fight to that final moment, and Frémaux is a player that has proven time and time again that physicality is a part of her play, and it's going to stay. So it's definitely going to be a physical battle here on this flank, as well as we already spoke about the battle that is on the opposite side.
The Wild, meanwhile, looking for their first shot on target, as Halifax had 2 in the first half. Storty taking down Marika Gay there. Gay famously scoring Halifax's first goal in that first meeting against Calgary. But staying with the present now in a 1-0 lead for the Tides. On a beautiful July evening on the East Coast. At kickoff, it was 28 Celsius, much warmer than they've experienced so far. Now some cloud cover rolling in here. Actually, a special weather statement in place for Halifax, but that'll be mostly for tomorrow, potential for some intense rains. Right now, the Tides looking to pour it on. Frémaux, Moore. Clears that out quick, and Stewart can't quite get there fast enough.
just as a note too, Danielle, I think one thing I'd love to see from Danielle Steer is a bit more strategy behind how she is pressing the ball. We're seeing her not cut off and force the defenders one way and really force them to make a decision, apply just the right amount of pressure. It's just been a little bit too soft from her, I would say, and she has to pick those moments when she is deciding to go and run and pressure the goalkeeper. She has to be sure that there are players around, force her one way so that that ball is being distributed into where they can capitalize on it. I just would love to see that strategy from her. I don't think it's been great enough so far.
Here comes the Tides as Clegg tries to put it forward for Miller. Down goes Janaea Robertson, though.
We're seeing the collision here. It looks like she might have got a cleat to the knee or just below the knee. But that definitely doesn't feel great.
See referee Sheila Couture having some words. Another look, of course, at the Calgary bench. A team we've talked about it plagued with injuries, but also a team that narrative, you know, has sort of simmered at the surface for you. Some teams can find a way to just put it behind them, but it's been so difficult seemingly in these early stages of this season for Calgary. And you hope that Robertson can hopefully shake this one off.
The last 2 games, they've lost 2 defensive players within the first 10 minutes, and that's not an easy thing to bounce back from. I know we spoke about the lack of depth they have in the back line and having to call on players to play a little bit out of position and be uncomfortable in it, and I thought that they did well. I thought the players that they put there, we saw Christy Gray, just to mention one, but I think that there are players that stepped up, and that's a part of being a pro and recognizing what you need to do. They're all talented enough to play more than one position, but it's definitely not an easy spot to be in if you're Calgary.
Meanwhile, Halifax focused forward. Nakamura with a strike.
We saw Nakamura get on the board for her team in the first half, and she wants another one. She's not able to quite get a clean shot on frame, but she's trying and she's collecting that second ball and not allowing Calgary to beat her to it.
Rolfsma now with a throw in. Just 5 minutes into the second half. A lively crowd chanting, singing in Halifax. Annika Leslie off her foot.
That's well in by my fellow Mountaineer, West Virginia Mountaineer there.
Doherty with the throw in. Trying to find Steer once more. She plays it quick with a pass to Thurton. Caught up along the right flank. Norcus almost just sitting on it there with some patience. Miller as well coming in to help.
You're seeing that defensive effort today, and I think that's one of the biggest differences in Halifax's game. It's their ability to stay compact, but also the effort that they're putting in, and Miller getting back and applying that double-teamed pressure. There's not much Thurton can do when you're stuck in that corner, so they're able to, Thurton obviously is able to win a corner kick off of it, though.
Looking for the equalizer from the corner. Header for the Tides, not quite clear. Some space to breathe for Halifax. Calgary has been solid on their set pieces against the Tides previously. Nakamura running it up. Now a chance for Johnson as she makes some moves and fancy footwork. A big save by Toth. Punches it away, and Annika Toth finally getting a real solid chance to show off her skills in this match.
I spoke about the quality that she has. You see it here. First off, Johnson doing very well to create space, but Toth coming up huge for Halifax. She's a player that continues to show her quality, Johnson, and she shows it there with not much time and space. But again, great save by Toth, being able to keep that out of the back of the net.
Yeah, how about Johnson coming in the start of the second half and already having the most threatening chance so far. Now another corner. Toth just reaches up, takes away that opportunity from the Wild.
She does well to be able to collect that and dominate in her 6-yard box. You're seeing it again here. This is a great delivery in by Doherty Howard, and it's a delivery that has proven to be difficult for the Tides in the past, so it is great to see her be able to get up there, collect that, and have no pressure at that.
Meanwhile, Nakamura trying to work it up the left flank that time. Moore taking some contact. You just know Michaela Moore. I had a chance to speak with her prior to the match. She is such a leader for this team. She takes it all. She feels it emotionally as well. We talked about these teams coming in, and it was 2 road losses in a row for the Wild coming into this one. They are back home Saturday. They'd like to come away with some points here in Halifax.
Grace Doherty doing a great job at taking her space and leaving Lemire no choice but to foul her because of the pace that she's running at her with. Lemire's feet weren't moving. She stuck her foot out, and obviously Doherty's able to get on the better end of that.
Quick passes here from Calgary. Rolfsma looking for a way in. It's up off the head. Header opportunity for Steer. Set up beautifully inside the box. Now back out they come. Karima Lemire pokes it ahead here for Nakamura, and Moore just takes it away.
Nakamura's been very active for this Halifax side in the attack. We're seeing her find those channels. She's pulling out wide, floating in there, causing issues for Calgary and who needs to step with her and who needs to stay with her. We saw there Storty wasn't able to clear that. It went under her foot, and Nakamura's able to collect it and now win a throw-in.
Kept in play now. Tides. Settle it back to the midfield. Lemire rather. Up trying to find that space in the middle. Sid Kennedy with a through pass, and the Wild will take it away. An opportunity here, not quite. Annika Toth quick to collect the ball as Johnson. You know she's not quite 100%, but always a threat. Well enough, of course, to be given minutes. These teams are always put player safety paramount here. Tides. Oh my goodness, Sid Kennedy. Dangerously close to that 6-yard line.
I think as much as we've seen Calgary pick it up a bit in the attacking third, defensively they're still not compact enough. I think they're out of position at times. They're not picking their moments of when to step. We saw in the middle of the park there's a few times where they were Halifax was able to break down Calgary easily because there was no one in their position, in the correct position, in the correct structure. And you saw just then and there that Clegg was able to get on that ball and have time to turn because of the time and space that she was being given by the center backs.
Some contact there as Lemire was going for a kick, and another look here at Halifax's last chance.
You see here, she could have potentially turned that Sonia Steps last minute. She feeds that through to Kennedy. Kennedy, you see her calling for that foul, a bit of a tug on her arm. But nonetheless, I think that could have been a moment for Clegg to turn and take a shot herself right at the top of the 18.
Kudos to Micah Rolfsma as well with staying there with Kennedy. Doherty Howard ready to take the kick here. It's up. Thurton to Rolfsma. What a block. The crowd appreciating the effort from the Tides as they thwart the efforts there for Calgary.
Holai coming up huge and being winded in the process. You're seeing here a great delivery again by Doherty Howard, something that Calgary has proven to be dangerous off of. Rolsima does well off of Thurton's pass to be able to strike that back towards goal, but Olai is not letting that by. Talk about putting your body on the line.
She read that so well, given that Toth was down as well. Post the chaos of the kick.
And we haven't spoken too much about Sarah Olai, but I think she's been a player that has been instrumental for Halifax as well. She's been a leader in the back line. She brings physicality. She often sets the tone. You see the collision there as well on Toth with Robertson coming through. Olai getting up right away. She was aware of what needed to be done, and again, putting her body on the line and keeping that out of the back of the net.
Prior to playing in the Northern Super League, she was playing in Stockholm. She's from Sweden, but more than that, she's really stood out for exactly that at the collegiate level, her ability to read the game. A playmaker at that. Calgary still searching for the equalizer. Moore gets it through. Thurton going in for the chase and then takes some heavy contact there. Our first yellow card of the game. Caution to Marika Gay.
There was definitely a card in that tackle. You saw Gay come through the back of Doherty Howard's legs. Her ankles specifically not getting ball at all, it looked like. We're going to see another look at it here. Moore gets the ball in. Yeah, just a bit of a collision there right through the back of Doherty Howard's ankle. You see her holding her ankle. There's not much of an argument Gay can make on that one.
Well, last time these two teams met, it was a combined 4 yellow cards in the match. Marika Gay handling the caution as she should, knowing the action there. And for the most part, the flow of the first half was fast. This is one of the longer breaks that we're seeing here as Lydia Bedford has a word with Sonia O'Neill. Oh, I do believe this is the hydration break. Yes, it's fueled by Powerade here in the Northern Super League. An important time to just make sure that players are hydrated. As mentioned, it started off a very, very warm evening. In Halifax, still hovering in the high 20 degrees Celsius, 27, a humidex of 35. Of course, they assess the temperature both at the start of the match and during the halftime, in case anything changes. But on a day like that, East Coasters know you've got to hydrate, stay sharp. We're into the 60th minute here.
It's great news for Calgary that Doherty Howard's back on her feet. It's not a player that you want to lose, especially when you're dealing with so many injuries already, but she has been somebody that has been a huge part of their success so far this season, a big leader in the middle of the park. We're also seeing her back in a bit of a further up position, more of that 8 role. I know she started in the 6, but it does look like she's moved further up the pitch to allow some more attacking threat for Calgary.
And trying to work out the cramps that comes with the heat. Jess, I'm sure you're very familiar with that sensation.
Those are not fun, let me tell you.
All smiles here. First match for interim head coach Stephen Hart, who, by the way, is very friendly with inaugural head coach Lewis Page. And if you missed it in the pregame chatter, Page is still with the club. He is transitioning now to establish the Tide's Development Academy, an incredible role there for Page. But they played together with the Halifax Wanderers at the time. Hart was the grizzled veteran on his way out, while Page was the young up-and-comer. And they also now live on the same street, just like that. The soccer world so small right now. An opportunity for the Wild to even things out on the scoreboard. Cleared out quick. Not entirely, of course, staying on the Halifax side.
Hey, leave the ball, please.
Spin down the line. Spin down the line.
Throw in from Fermo. Goes off a header by Rolfsma. Puts it deep here in Calgary territory.
Win this. Let's keep
And Jess, while it's hard to sometimes gauge what a manager might say at the halftime, what would your words possibly have been for Calgary in trying to now make up this difference and tie this game?
You know, I think one thing that Coach Bedford mentioned in our call, Daniela, was that when she had to motivate her team, you know, she said, we have to go back to do what we did against Halifax. So I imagine she looked back at that game again and brought up their successes the past 2 times these teams have met and the goals that they were able to score, the clinical finishing that they were able to have in the final third. And she probably just mentioned the compactness that's needed defensively. They need to have the recognition of when to step and when to stay in their shape and be able to translate that into dangerous attacks. So it's a matter of being able to find your footing all around the pitch, I would say. I don't think that first half showing was horrible from them, but I definitely think they have a lot more in the tank and a lot more to show us.
Some great footwork on display by Tegan Stewart to set up that possession for Calgary. Stewart staying up. Now Fremo. The sun as well lowering in Halifax. The heat staying steady here. As Doherty Howard gets to work. Mostly seen her right in the middle.
And you're seeing that defensive work by Nakamura and Lemire double teaming her, not allowing her to turn and face forward because they do know the threat that she poses when she's running at your back line.
Doherty Howard scoring the Wild's first ever game winner right here in Halifax. Steer watches it go up and over more. O'Neill communicating, looking to organize this team.
It's executing those simple passes that are going to be helpful for them. There's no reason to play that into space. Doherty Howard was perfectly within that channel, right in between, splitting those two Halifax players. Rolfsman just needed to play that to her feet, allow her to turn, spin, go forward, drive at goal, whether she's drawing out a center back and being able to slip that through or take it herself and strike it.
A throw in from Doherty Howard to Stewart. Doherty Howard up in and a header attempt. Another that time to stay on the attack. Now Calgary chasing once more. In the 65th minute we are. A 1-0 game for Halifax established in the first half.
It's a nice touch and switch of play by Robertson.
And all the way across the field, Thurton once more trying to get it work, keep Marika Gay at bay. Gay with the physical play once more. She was cautioned just 5 minutes ago.
You're seeing it here, Johnson really getting in there and Gay putting her body right through her to not allow her to get by.
Solid hip check. That's the type of player Gay is, though. An important part of what this Tides team, the identity of this team, has a goal on the season as it is. Opportunity here. Doherty Howard. Off the right foot. Into the box, the Tides. Managing that well. Toth once more in control.
Another thing that's showcasing the heart that Halifax plays with, is how they're winning those first and second balls right now. And that was something that lacked heavily in the game against Toronto. Toronto was on every single first and second ball. But today that isn't the case. You're seeing Halifax come out and win that first and second ball, clearing it, getting out of danger, recollecting the ball when you see Calgary clear it. So they're doing a very good job at staying on top of things and staying aware defensively.
Really great effort by Clegg there, noticing the ball had not fully crossed the goal line. Gives the Tides an opportunity here in the attacking third. Vukovic been very communicative with her team and
Careful in transition. That's fine.
Tides looking for the go-ahead now. O'Neill, it's up in the air, follows it through. The ball goes out on the near touchline.
Calgary doing well to get that out of danger. We saw them struggle with in-box defending on that first goal, so it is great to see them step up and be aware of who they need to mark and how to get that ball out of the danger zone.
Sun in the eyes as Rolfsma with the throw-in, looking for Steer. Got some 1v1 battles, and Nakamura. Great physical battles we're seeing develop here between these two, and Sun definitely in the eyes there for Sid Kennedy.
You're seeing the physicality and Sonia, and a player that has done really well when she's been called on, I would say recently, specifically when she's in that center back role. And I know she is familiar with that center back role, but at the beginning of the season, we were seeing her play in that 6. She definitely looks more comfortable back there in the center back position, using her body well. She recognizes when to step over and when to step. So definitely a good showing from her, I would say, today overall.
Halifax on the move. Moore exactly where she needed to be to take away that pass. Said her name so many times, and still just a 1-goal game here for the hometown Tides. As the long shadows begin to stretch across the pitch here. Wind certainly not a huge factor today. Doherty. And we have some substitutions for the Tides at the 69th minute. And Valerie Seto coming in for Millie Clegg. It'll be Sarah Taylor. An exciting return there for Tides fans, as they knew she wasn't quite ready for a start, but could play some minutes, was in the right place for that, and she comes in for Marika Gay.
I think anytime you see a player return from quite a long injury, it's so fantastic to see. Taylor is a stellar human being, I will say. We had a U20 national team camp together, and she might be the nicest person I've ever met in my life. She is an absolute gem of a human being, and she's a great player. I think that she can add a lot to this game, more of that stand-alone midfielder who's able to create a lot going forward, but also is so aware of her defensive responsibilities as well. I also think Sato has been somebody that when she steps in has helped a lot in offense. So it is great to see her get some minutes here.
And Valerie Sato from Montreal. She was also subbed in. She's been subbed in both previous matches against Calgary, so familiar with this Wild team. And for Taylor, she's also had some minutes, in fact played the second half in their very first meeting at the Wanderers grounds. We have just got to work out those cramps. We talked about it, Jess, in the heat. It'll get to you, and it's still hovering in the high 20 degrees Celsius, and that's prior to factoring in any humidity. There have been hydration breaks given. Madison Wilson also entering the game, this for the Calgary Wild. So Callie Johnson, who sure didn't have as many minutes. She was subbed in and then subbed out, but an important player making an impact quickly there. And we also see Wickers enter for the Tide, so they're making a number of substitutions here in for Annika Leslie.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Johnson's all right. I know she was dealing with a bit of an injury. That's why she isn't able to be fully playing 90 minutes as we've seen her earlier this season. But hopefully she is okay with this early departure.
Back in play after player needed to get a cramp attended to, and we saw a number of substitutions here in the 72nd minute. Is a shakeup what Calgary needs at this time. Johnson, of course, having the best shot on target so far for the Wild, and it happened just minutes after being subbed in the second half. You have to think, Jess, they're missing her right now, and in a battle like this, and what she could be able to do given full minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that she's a player that makes the world of a difference. You saw the impact that she had in the short time that she was on the pitch and the threats that she was able to bring into the attacking third. Her and Moore having a good connection there with those switch balls. You just saw Moore once again display that ability to hit them.
Some quick passes creating movement to the inside. Immediately taken away, though, by Annika Toth, goalkeeper for the Tides.
You're also seeing that shift of Stewart go out wide and Wilson going into the middle of the park where Stewart had originally started.
Halifax wanting even more distance on the scoreboard. They have yet to score more than 2 goals in a single match so far, but still early on in their NSL season. Sid Kennedy working in now. Sato to Kennedy. My goodness, Sato coming in. Immediate impact there for Anne Valerie. Fremo plays it coy. Sato at the goal line. No, it's out of bounds.
Sarah, keep working. Keep working.
We're seeing here this opportunity that they're able to create here. Sato's pace, using it well. She cuts it back to Kennedy. Kennedy's not able to get her foot on it, but this is the effort that they're continuing to bring, and I think when you bring subs in, you want fresh legs. That's what you expect. You expect that effort. You expect that intensity. So that is a great run by Sato, and she attempted to keep it in the run of play as well a little later, but just wasn't able to get there.
Calgary Wild looking to set up here. Stewart. Some fancy footwork by Tegan. Successful sprawl save there for Annika Toth.
You're seeing some good individual effort here by Stewart and showcasing what she's capable of. She gets a good ball in, but there's just not enough hunger from Steer. I think there's so much more in her. I don't see the grit that we've seen in previous matchups, so I think there has to be a bit more heart from her, a bit more grit. Has to go right through that and really challenge it and make it hard for Toth. It's just too easy for her to come out and collect.
In the 75th minute now, Daniela Ponticelli alongside Jessica Lisi on the call with you. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the Northern Super League presented by BMO as the Tides look to add to their lead. You have to think this is a great start for what could be things to come for the new interim head coach, Stephen Hart. Again, can almost guess that he's not going to take much credit for this one, Jess, knowing how little time he's really had here, but stoppage here. Having a look at Stephanie Bukovic saying it's a hamstring. Just needing some assistance there. Bukovic, 29 years old, out of Toronto, Ontario. He had a very impressive 192-minute shutout streak already early on in this NSL season, including back-to-back games with a draw and a victory as well for the Wild.
Looks like we're seeing some more subs come Calgary's way.
While they're at it, taking a much-needed hydration break. And fans have not stopped singing along in Halifax. Of course, perked up by that first half goal from Megumi Nakamura. So Talia White will be coming in, but right now we're seeing Keelan Stewart twin sister to Tegan. She wears number 19, Tegan with 30. And we'll have Rolfsma, who we've mentioned countless times already in this game, but Talia White subbing in. So the twins swapped places there. It was Tegan Stewart coming off for her sister Keelan.
We haven't seen as much of Keelan in this NSL season so far as we have with Tegan, but I think, you know, in the moments that Keelan has stepped in, she's shown what she's capable of as well. She's a very gritty player. You can tell how bad she wants to be out there and how much she loves this game, just always looking to get better. That was something that Coach Bedford has mentioned in the past about the twins. She said that they're both players that want to get better. They work very hard. This means everything to them. So it's great to see her get some minutes, and I think that she can definitely contribute to their attack.
Bit of a soft pass there. Leads to a lofty ball out to the stands. Moore with the throw in from the far side, Doherty Howard. They look to get an edge to the inside here. Storty to the inside, it's taken away by Lemire. And it was Calgary that said they wanted to be the best in both boxes, but we're really seeing that, Jess, from Halifax in this match.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. I think that we're seeing how many numbers are back for Halifax and how bad they want to get this ball out, but also on the offense, they're getting numbers in the box. And I think right now Calgary doesn't have enough grit inside that box, and we saw there, you saw Storty try to get a ball into the box, but Halifax is able to collect that. There's not enough numbers, there's not enough heart to get there, so I'd love to see a bit more from Calgary in that, in getting numbers in the box, in bringing that intensity to be able to potentially find the back of the net. It has to be better.
French defender Eva Fermot with the throw-in, gets it back right away. So they'll move closer to the defensive third this time, the Tides. Check that on the attack, rather. As it goes out past the goal line once more. Look at Miller, such a driven player as well for this Tide side. Storty has no problem communicating over the crowd sound. Opportunity here from the corner. Kennedy. Halifax leading with a number of corners, 4-2. Kennedy, beautiful.
Definitely looked like that was in the back of the net.
Certainly had the crowd thinking so, but they're running the other way. Olai tracking that one.
You're seeing it here again. Olai did well to get up there. It looks like she might have had a bit of a piggyback on the back of Moore.
Had to take a beat there, just make sure the eyes were not deceiving. It did look from our angle to be to the outside, and that's exactly what it was. Calgary defending, but of course desperate now to bring this game to a draw at the very least. Tackle by Stewart, that's Keelan Stewart on for Mo.
You're seeing the effort here defensively. Definitely a big tackle for her. You saw Fremont, as well as you heard someone from the bench complaining about that, but it does look like she might have got all ball there from the angle that we're seeing of the replay.
Olai, the beautiful kick has Nakamura. Now Sato, just trying to curve it in there. It stays to the outside, goes behind the goal.
We've seen Halifax try these direct balls more so this game, and I think they've been finding some success with it. Nakamura does a very good job at floating into those wide areas and finding the channels when they're available. I think she's been tremendous for them tonight, but I definitely think that they've been finding success in more direct play.
Now the Wild trying to set up from distance this time, Toth, with what looked like an easy read. Tracks that ball. Good kick to put it forward. Now Bukovic will handle it. And Valerie Sato staying up for the Tides. Wearing their predominantly white kit. The Wild Talia White, who subbed in later in this game, getting her one of her first touches on the ball. Kennedy shielding. Now from O. In under pressure from Stewart. Nakamura trying to run it up along the right flank. Been a track star, it seems, in this game so far, not to mention the lone goal scorer.
Her movement off the ball has been great. Her positioning and finding and creating that space for her teammates has played a big role in finding success today for them, and as well as from an individual's perspective for her.
Absolutely. It's not only what you can do on the ball, it's what you do often. In fact, Stephen Hart, the man you see here, interim head coach for the Tides, he said that's one of the main observations he hopes to make in this game, is just to see how everyone is working as a unit, particularly when they don't have the ball. And you have to think this is a really good start that he's seeing from this team that is very new to him. Storty off her back heel. And that drops it off here for the Tides. Now defending. Lemire to the far side. As they get on the move, here comes Halifax. Sato keeping it away from O'Neill. Moore cruises in to take control. Doherty Howard. In the final 5 minutes here of match time. There was only 2 minutes added at the end of the first half, but we've had some more we've just had some more time. That is likely to see a few more minutes than that to close out this match.
Another thing that really needs to be picked up and settled for this Calgary team is the way that Steer is moving off the ball. There hasn't been enough movement. She's very stationary when she has players running towards her. You saw Stewart there running with some pace towards her, and she didn't quite know what sort of run to make. She looked like she wanted to make that straight run. Then she realized she should pull out a little too late. There hasn't been enough movement from her. I would love to see her come off the front a lot more and be an option, whether she's getting the ball or not, but just a matter of being able to manipulate the opponent a little better.
O'Neill back to Bukovic. Calgary, time not on their side at this point, but they are a team. We've seen them be opportunistic when they can. It's been a different kind of match here for the Wild. Of course, a team that has now been on the road for quite a while. They had 2 away matches prior to the international window, and now this one on the East Coast. No excuse, just part of what it means to play professionally and have the schedule you have. We'll be back home Saturday when they face tough tests in Vancouver Rise.
I absolutely think travel plays a role. It always will at the end of the day. You know, you're an athlete, you're trying to recover as best you can to step into that next match and be the best version of yourself. Of course, all these teams are facing it at one point throughout the season, but I think right now it's the little things that are letting the Wild down, and it's the simple passes and being able to connect a 5 to 10 yard pass, or the decision making of what pass to make exactly, or if it's defensively of when to step. It just hasn't quite come together for them. A nice little meg there by Keelan Stewart. We spoke about the quality that she brings. Haven't seen too much of her this season, but that's just a glimpse of the creativity that she can potentially bring to this attack.
Well, the Twins have tenacity. That is unmatched here. And Doherty Howard with the kick. Big opportunity for the Wild. Kept out, but not far as Thurton tries to find a channel. This one a through ball. Wilson trying to work around Sato. Comes in contact, another collision, my goodness.
See Wilson trying to shut that down, the transitional moment. Miller's not a player you want running at your back line with the ball. I'm not too sure how Wilson can argue that. She most definitely got Miller's leg there and broke up the play. But we're seeing the defensive effort again from Halifax and the amount of numbers that they have. They're swarming Calgary, not giving them any time and space to create anything dangerous on set pieces, which is typically where we've seen Calgary thrive, specifically against Halifax, I would say. If you go all the way back to that very first match that they played, they were able to get quite a few goals off of set pieces, but just throughout the entire season, Calgary has thrived on executing set pieces. And in today's matchup, Halifax is getting the better end of that, and they're able to clear it and beat them to the ball.
So Madison Wilson booked there for that contact. Second yellow card of the game overall, but first on the Calgary side. Crowd on their feet at the Wanderers grounds. The game is not over. Halifax knows this. They've been the team that has had to chase, try to mount comebacks. Their lone victory was this season so far, as took place right here. We see another yellow card. So in the dying minutes of this match, referee Sheila Couture managing this one. We're at the 90-minute mark. A minimum of 7 minutes now in stoppage time. I felt like it would be longer than what we saw at the first half when it was just 2. This is a big opportunity here for the Wild. Can they come away with a point or more in the NSL? A draw is worth a point each in the standings, and we've been watching it with fun just to see all the jockeying for position, but it's so important to keep perspective, knowing where you are in the season, but also knowing you can't give away too many games without coming away with points. That's been to the detriment of the Tides, with only that 1 3-point victory so far, and a draw as well for 4 points through 8 matches leading into this, their 9th.
We've seen that there's no room for complacency in this league. That's something that has been showcased time and time again. The fact that the top of the table is constantly being mixed up, the middle of the table. You just never know who's going to end up there, and you never know who's going to win the matchup. And, you know, it could be argued, oh, when you play a team 3, 4, 5 times, you get to know them. It's a very different game, which is true, but sometimes that makes it more competitive, and you know exactly what to get, and both teams are able to prepare better tactically, but that makes the game that much more interesting. And I think that because of that factor, you never know who's going to come out with the win, as we're seeing today.
Absolutely. And just to go back to that most recent yellow card scene, and Valerie Sato was booked there for dissent. And you know that the officials are watching that. It's something actually prior to the season starting that the officials said, we understand that as more and more teams play one another and these matchups intensify, rivalries actually building, we could start seeing, you know, calls like that. If you're just joining us, this is the Northern Super League, and we are in added time here. A 1-0 game so far for Halifax as Maddie Wilson runs out of room with the ball. We have a substitution now for the Tides here in extra time as Cristabel Oduro will head in, and Nakamura doing all she has done for this Halifax team today, scoring that goal, her third of the season. What a game for number 24.
Get ready to go, Crystal. Second ball.
Now 3 minutes into extra time. O'Neill. Can Calgary find a way? There's been so many substitutions, it feels, on both sides. Talia White being one of them. White, fresh legs, with the footwork. Looking to find Robertson. Of course, Janaea Robertson having what looked like a scary moment earlier in the match, but she has been back since then.
You're seeing Calgary come out with that front-footed mentality now later in the half. They're chasing the game. They're seeing their fullbacks get forward, leaving Moore and Sonia back there to really figure things out and start the play and get numbers forward, create dangerous opportunities potentially to equalize this.
How do you rally back? I mean, we have seen Halifax struggle at times to be that team with the mental fortitude. But what a fresh start. You come back from the international window, and there have been changes made, changes to your coaching staff. The manager now an interim member, and Stephen Hart, who's eyeing his first victory in that role.
I think for the first time, maybe not the first time, that we've seen some confident performances from Halifax, but I would say from the first minute to this final minute, you saw a very confident Halifax team. Whether everything was really coming together in the first bit, I would say that there were, of course, moments that they could be more compact, and you can nitpick, but I would say overall, this has been their most complete performance. They are coming out with that grit and that heart and that intensity from the first minute, and they're holding it. They're holding that 1-0 lead, and that's not an easy lead to hold, especially against a team like Calgary that we know is tenacious and likes to come at you and try to break you down. So definitely hats off to this Halifax team today, and they're very deserving of how this has gone so far.
Well, Sid Kennedy flying in as though it's the first minute.
Looks like she was going to that corner, heading to that corner, a bit of time wasting.
Just a burst of speed and energy. Of course, fueled by the Halifax fans. Fans who now are on the precipice of witnessing 2 straight home wins for the Tides as contact sends Calgary down. Of course, you can waste time all you want, but Kennedy's the kind who will absolutely play to the very last second.
Hey, 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 hey.
You're seeing Oduro telling her, keep your head in check. There's no reason to argue. Get back into shape. That's the experience that Cristabel Oduro has, and keeping her teammates in check around her, recognizing the importance of just needing to stay in position and not allow Calgary back. Because sometimes all you need is a minute. Sometimes all you need is 30 seconds.
And that might be all that the Wild have, but they are in the attacking third. It's kept out there by Karima Lemire. Talia White finds O'Neill again. Doherty Howard watches the ball skim by. It appeared intentional, as mentioned. Minimum of 7 minutes here in extra time. 6:50 in. What can be done? The ball well wide there of the post. That's what it's all about, the young fans. And what a view. For the first time, the Tides have conquered the Wild. A 1-0 finish for Halifax at home. The club's second ever victory. First ever for interim head coach Stephen Hart. 3 big points, of course, towards the standings, and it's Megumi Nakamura with the lone goal, the all-important one. What a win as well for Annika Toth. A shutout, not conceding a single goal to the Wild. The Wild, who have put 7 goals on Halifax previously in 2 meetings before this, and Calgary, Jess, they're now in unfamiliar territory, losing 3 straight matches, all of those coming on the road.
I think they didn't have that edge that was needed in the final third. They weren't able to connect their passes. I think that Halifax put out a really great performance, so it's definitely hats off to them and what they were able to do. They kept coming. They brought the intensity defensively. They took care of what needed to be taken care of. They were winning first and second balls. We did see Calgary fight back. It's not to say that there wasn't any fight. I would say overall it was quite an even matchup. Both teams, obviously 1-0 win. That alone shows how close this game was, but I just think that Halifax had a very good performance from their perspective, and we're just showing the growth.
And taking a look now at the stats and all that means, when really it is about the victories. Of course, the shots on target, they favored the Tides 2-1, but that also means that in the second half there were no shots on target for Halifax. That was the stats heading into the second half. Total shots, of course, favoring the home team as well, but there's the possession, and that's such a tough stat as Jess, because what does that mean? Calgary did seem to have some great moments of control and patience. They just couldn't find the back of the net.
Yeah, I think that they weren't as purposeful in their possession, and I've said that quite a bit throughout this game, but I just don't think that they had enough bite to their attack. They were circulating that ball in behind the back line, which is great. You have to pick your moments to go, but there also has to be that bite when you do go. There has to be that execution and that pass, and I don't think they had that, and that is where these 2 teams differ tonight. Halifax brought the heart, and they were able to get one and put it in the back of the net.
So what does this all mean other than a massive celebration at the Wanderers' grounds? Well, Halifax Tides, they're still at the bottom of the table, but they're now up 3 points, and they pull ever closer to Calgary Wild FC. Of course, not only establishing the first ever lead against Calgary, but then taking this first ever win against the Wild. First for their interim head coach. And Maritime fans, well, they'll get to be right back at the Wanderers grounds this Saturday when the Tides host Montreal at 6 p.m. local, 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. The first of a doubleheader Saturday, by the way, in the NSL, capped by Vancouver at Calgary. Yes, the Wild will be back in action. That match time at McMahon Stadium, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. Thanks for joining us for NSL Soccer, presented by BMO, the official bank of the Northern Super League. A 1-0 finish for the Halifax Tides. On behalf of Jessica Lisi, producer Jack Grinberg, and the Northern Super League, I'm Daniela Ponticelli. Good night. See you soon.